In good shape for a little lady, huh?
You know what? I'm gonna drive.
Okay. Okay, wait.
You? This is my husband, David.
But what happens when their neighbor's wife covets you?
They killed our fucking cat, David. What's your definition?
Danger.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
We got our best man on it.
Where's Charlie? Is he not coming?
Who's gonna meet us out there?
What do you want, Charlie? What the fuck do you want?
Stand straight.
David, they don't work, David. Those fucking guns.
The film opens with a fragment of a hunt, immediately immersing the audience in a rugged, tense atmosphere. A group of men, rugged and determined, have successfully driven a deer through the dense underbrush, demonstrating their skill and primal connection to nature. Meanwhile, in stark contrast, Amy and David Summer are driving in a sleek convertible, sunlight glinting off the polished surface, enjoying a carefree ride. They sing along to the radio, their laughter and playful teasing creating a sense of light-hearted romance. Their journey, however, is subtly disrupted when they pass hunters returning from the woods, carrying their freshly caught prey, a stark reminder of the danger and unpredictability of the world outside their bubble. Eventually, Amy and David arrive at Amy's hometown. She steps out of the car with a mixture of nostalgia and warmth, greeting familiar places, waving to neighbors, and exchanging smiles with people she has known for years. This brief moment establishes her deep connection to the town and the life she once knew. The couple stops at a local pub to grab a bite, enjoying the relaxed pace of small-town life, when they are approached by Amy's old friend, Charlie. Amy introduces him to David, and the conversation flows naturally, beginning with Charlie's interest in renovating houses. David, curious and intrigued, shares details about his work as a film scriptwriter, which sparks an unexpected connection between him and Charlie. As the interaction unfolds, David notices subtle dynamics, an unspoken familiarity between Amy and Charlie. Sensing that his wife may need privacy to talk with an old friend, David heads to the bar to fetch a beer, positioning himself to observe from a distance. Charlie sits with Amy, offering condolences for the recent passing of her father, and their conversation carries undertones of intimacy and history. At the same time, the bar buzzes with activity. Tom Hayden fixates on another patron's shoes, and Jeremy Niles enters with his dog, only to be asked to leave the animal outside. Amid the chatter, David's eyes are drawn to a photograph on the wall of Amy and Charlie from their youth, a visual reminder of past connections and unresolved tensions. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. One of the patrons, known as Coach, begins to behave inappropriately, creating discomfort and tension. Charlie steps in to calm him, but Coach escalates, attempting to provoke a fight with the bartender, Blackie. Blackie cuts him off from alcohol, but Coach defiantly pours beer from the kegs for himself, demonstrating both recklessness and a sense of entitlement. The sheriff arrives to restore order, asking Coach to leave the bar, and the scene concludes with Amy and David departing. However, tension lingers. They discover a stranger, Jeremy, sitting in their car with his dog. Amy cautiously approaches to speak with him, while her brother Daniel intervenes, removing Jeremy before the couple continues home. During the drive, David quietly questions Amy about Charlie, seeking clarity about the nature of their friendship. Amy stops the car to enjoy the open landscape, breathing in the fresh air and allowing David a moment to reflect before they reach the house. Once home, Amy gives David a tour, revealing the intimate details of her life and the memories embedded in each room. He discovers old records, playing them as Amy shares poignant stories about her late father, deepening their emotional connection. Later, as David immerses himself in writing, Amy runs errands, including a trip to the grocery store, before returning home to find David absorbed in his work. A sudden, Unexpected interruption occurs when a cat jumps onto Amy, startling David and adding a small but humanizing moment of chaos. The following morning, the film introduces a more ominous undercurrent. Renovations begin as Charlie and his crew, Bick, Chris, and Norman, arrive to repair the barn roof. David negotiates their start time, attempting to assert some control over the household. Bick discovers warm beer in the fridge and sits down with David to discuss practicalities, while Amy joins them, adding warmth to the interaction. She offers ice cream and discusses household rules, manners, and the subtle social codes that govern their interactions. Meanwhile, David converses with Charlie, who unexpectedly invites him on a hunting trip, to Amy's surprise, as she did not expect her husband to agree so readily. As the story progresses, tension builds through seemingly mundane activities. The men play pool at a local bar, while David practices chess at home, observing patterns, strategy, and the subtle interplay of minds. Amy studies the game's rules, highlighting her curiosity and patience, while David engages in sports nearby, blending physicality with cerebral focus. Later, in a quiet, intimate moment, Amy lies on the bed while David places chess pieces on her thigh, demonstrating a gentle, personal connection that contrasts with the external tensions. At the same time, back at the bar, Coach entertains patrons with hunting tales, and Daniel expresses concern over his brother's strange behavior, prompting David to defend him. Morning routines are disrupted by underlying danger. Amy goes for a jog, closely followed by the construction workers in their car, their leering gaze creating discomfort and increasing David's anxiety. At home, David explains the meaning of the phrase straw dogs to Amy, initiating a discussion about modesty, male attention, and social expectation. Amy, initially surprised by David's reaction, adjusts her behavior, but her husband remains firm in his stance. Later, she showers and unintentionally exposes herself to the construction workers outside, who are distracted by Charlie encouraging them to play loud music, heightening the tension in David's mind. David ventures into town to make a phone call, navigating carefully past the slow-moving vehicle driven by the workers, nearly resulting in an accident. He reaches the city and contacts his agent, promising to complete his work within 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Jeremy is approached by a woman named Janice, introducing additional interpersonal tension, especially with her brother Daniel, who attempts to intervene. Back home, David's involvement with the town intensifies when he meets the local football coach at a bar. He is invited, alongside Amy, to a church service and a community picnic. Although David finds the service monotonous, he engages socially with Amy's friends, observing the subtle dynamics and tensions within the town. Conflict emerges as Jeremy and Janice interact, leading to a fight that involves Coach and others. Amy intervenes, but David, frustrated, removes her from the situation, highlighting his protective instincts and the growing strain between the couple and the town. As evening falls, unease deepens. David's concentration on work is disrupted by domestic issues, notably the discovery of a dead cat in the cupboard. Amy suspects local townspeople and retrieves her father's gun, escalating the tension. David begins observing the construction workers carefully, devising a strategic trap to uncover the culprit, while meticulously monitoring their reactions. The next morning, the narrative shifts to the hunt. Charlie, Norman, and the others venture into the foggy woods, with David joining them. A deer suddenly appears, forcing David to demonstrate his skill and focus. Meanwhile, tension simmers at home as Charlie attempts to engage Amy, seeking physical closeness. Amy resists, creating a silent battle of will, while David handles the deer, asserting both control and competence. Following the hunt, David walks home with a shotgun, encountering the sheriff, who warns him about poaching laws and firearm regulations. Amy, frustrated with David's passive approach to confronting the hunters, expresses her desire to leave town. However, David chooses to stay, dismissing the construction workers and asserting authority. He communicates firmly with Charlie, demanding the completion of work and handing him a shotgun, establishing dominance and control over the unfolding situation. That evening, the town gathers at the football stadium. Meanwhile, Jeremy and Janice share a secret encounter, further intensifying local tensions as Coach searches for his daughter. Amy and David prepare to leave town but are confronted by Jeremy, who blocks their path. The couple takes him home and calls for medical assistance after noticing his injuries, demonstrating responsibility and moral authority amidst chaos. Conflict escalates rapidly. Coach and Charlie attempt intimidation, throwing bottles at Amy's house, escalating the situation to a violent confrontation. The sheriff intervenes, but a gunshot tragically kills him, signaling the onset of a deadly siege. David and Amy defend themselves using strategic methods, employing household items, boiling water, traps, and firearms in a desperate bid for survival. The night becomes a battlefield. Charlie attempts to overpower Amy, while Norman sneaks into the house. David and Amy fight fiercely, blending strategy and raw determination. David eventually traps Charlie, and together, the couple secures their home. Once the attackers are neutralized, David inspects the property meticulously, eradicating evidence by setting the house ablaze, leaving no trace of the violent struggle. The film concludes with Amy and David standing amid the charred aftermath,